Hello, I'm Bill Weir, welcoming you to another program in our series, Freethinking Forum. And I'm delighted to have with me today again, Mirza Baig. Mirza, you are a psychiatrist extraordinaire.
Oh, thank you.
You call it integrative psychiatry, is that right?
Yes.
What are you passionate about? Is there something special about integrative?
Well, I had been doing a lot of thinking after our first interview, the first broadcast, and just really wanted to do more than what I was doing currently. So to answer your question, I'm really passionate about prevention, the environment, but the fact that that there's a whole lot more we could do than prescribing medications, as important as they are, but we can do more to help people not get sick.
That's well, that sounds like a really good thing to be passionate about, helping people prevent mental disability. And so you're working on preventing the problems or preventing them from becoming worse. And so while you can prescribe medications, you want to find other ways that help people.
Yes.
Would you define this as a kind of well-being rather than simply avoiding mental illness?
Absolutely. I would say that it's both physical and mental illness is so important. And both good physical and good mental health, wellness, I would consider on the vein of well-being.
Yeah.
Happiness and good health, basically.
So well-being is the important thing.
Yes.
Attaining that. Well, what is the project that you're working on now?
Basically, it's going to be a book. And so the idea behind this book is that we're giving a guide to people on how to exactly do this. How do we get better well-being? And there are a lot of books on well-being, but I think that what separates this book is that it's coming from some pretty unique perspectives.
Good. Including yours.
Correct.
So, what was it anything in particular that interests you in writing this book?
Yes. So so what I do is I basically, and I think there's a huge need for psychiatry and medication prescribing in general, but I wanted to do more. I really wanted to do more than this and reach a bigger audience to try and help people.
I remember that you were working with primary care physicians.
Yes.
And that's one part of it, but you wanted to go beyond that.
Correct.
So what are some of the problems that you see?
Well, basically what we're doing, there are a lot of good things about the medical world, but what we are doing is we're on the receiving end of people getting ill, So we're treating medical illness, and we're not really addressing what we could do to, reduce that. We're very focused on this aspect.
You're talking about the MDs.
Yes.
Primary care physicians.
Correct.
And specialists. But the problems,
Yes. So basically, when we have a lot of medical conditions that are preventable, there's more people that, we have spiking rates of, unhealthy conditions like heart disease and cancer. And maybe not spiking, but over time, it hasn't gotten better, and the trends are for it to get worse over time. So I'd really like that to change.
Well, I've heard this about diabetes, that can be prevented.
Yes.
And do you have, is that one of the things that you're focusing on?
Correct.
Preventing diabetes through what, nutrition or?
Good nutrition, exercise, healthy habits, community, all of it.
But those really apply to many illnesses, don't they?
Absolutely.
So you're trying to prevent the illness so that people don't suffer as much as they are now.
Yes.
Are there different types of prevention?
Yes. So what I do and what we do in the medical community is what we call secondary and tertiary prevention. So for example, if you go to the mall and they have like a cholesterol screen and they're checking your blood, that would be, I would see that as sort of a primary or secondary prevention, meaning they're catching some illness when it's there and they're keeping it at bay. That's what secondary.
So you get the test and you go to a specialist to treat that, but you want to look at primary care.
Primary and secondary, whereas like tertiary care is sort of like having heart disease and trying to manage that. Secondary is like having high blood sugars or just maybe recently diagnosed with diabetes. It was caught before getting worse. But I would really like to focus on primary, really preventing illness.
So our healthcare system now is not doing as good a job as we need on that.
Correct.
Would you try to get the whole system to change, or?
Well, I think at this point, at least for my goals, it's to bring more awareness. I think, and a lot of people have been working to do that. Jamie Oliver, Dan Buettner, and would really like to see that happening. Now, then the medical system, there are really a lot of wonderful things, like a lot of technology. They're very advanced, lots of research and knowledge. I think that part of it is beautiful, but we're still catching it too late.
So
in my opinion,
we're living longer, but often at very great expense because it requires tertiary care.
Yes, exactly. And, so the idea behind well-being is if by not having good well-being, we have these huge, tremendous costs.
So what can we do as individuals? You're coming out with a book. We just read the book?
Well, the book, awareness, reading about things. There's the book. There are a lot of books on well-being. There's a lot of really good articles online. But basically, it's about getting healthier habits of mind and body, and that happens through a lot of different things, but mainly, developing healthy relationships, exercise, good nutrition, diet. And it just takes, and there's a number of other things that could really help that out. But we're trying to, enable people to see what kind of goals they would like and help them achieve those as much as we can.
So you mentioned community. Why is community so important?
We have looked at a lot of data over many years and at a lot of people. And the thing that seems to come back as with the people living the healthiest, living longer and happier, that they're part of a community. They have relationships, and this alone.
As opposed to living alone?
Correct.
As opposed to living as a couple?
Correct.
Even couples need to have a larger community that they're part of. Is that the idea?
Absolutely. Whether we're introverted or extroverted, we're still by nature very socially oriented. Especially when you look at the studies as children or in monkeys, people that don't have social connectedness, they're gonna do worse mentally and physically, generally.
Well, I know that if I didn't have community as soon as I was born, I wouldn't be here.
Neither would I.
And because my mother took care of me, my father with her, and so the neighborhood looked out for me too. Mm-hmm. And I came to have friends, other boys and girls in the neighborhood. Is that the kind of community you're talking about?
Yes. And
I guess some people in our society are maybe missing that.
Yes.
They may not be in a community where they can establish good connections with others.
Yes.
So now you've also mentioned exercise.
Correct.
How powerful is that?
Oh, it's very powerful. I was shocked when I was doing the research on it, but basically it's got anti-inflammatory effects. It can prevent dementia. It's the single biggest thing that can prevent dementia. So far we found nothing like it. And I'm not saying it's 100%, like if you exercise, you're not going to have dementia, but the risk of having it is reduced. And there's nothing else that so far in the research that compares.
But it's not just dementia. I know my respiratory specialist has prescribed respiratory therapy, which means under the guidance of physical therapists, getting some exercise, learning to exercise more fully. And doesn't it apply to cancer also? I've heard.
Yes, actually, we've got some studies now showing that regular exercise, for having it as a habit, actually can reduce rates of cancer. I mean, it takes other things too, like the community, diet, good nutrition, But yes, we're having some studies showing you can actually prevent cancer, and then some studies that they're looking at using exercise as part of the interventions, for cancer, the treatment, as part of the treatment plan.
Good. So you mentioned anti-inflammatory effects of exercise.
Yes.
So what should we do to further that anti-inflammatory? Is it just any exercise will take care of it?
Generally say more aerobic exercise, where we're kind of a little bit shorter breath, is going to have more of the anti-inflammatory effects. Then we've got nutrition. Having foods that are less inflammatory are certainly going to help that out. Weight is a factor too. That tends to carry some inflammatory responses. But in general, though, the body, just by our biochemical reactions, we're always creating inflammatory events, oxidating chemicals in the cells and that kind of thing. So these are, diet and exercise, just a couple things that can tilt that, in a more favorable manner.
Oh, good. I'm glad to know there are things other than pills.
Yes, there are.
I'm beginning to understand the consequences of not living healthy. It seems there are a lot of consequences of carrying around too much fat and ingesting too much sugar and other. What are some of the other things that we need to?
It's basically that we're needlessly suffering. We don't have to suffer this much. And the idea, we don't have to suffer this much, and it's very expensive. We have less energy. We're less capable of reaching our goals. And in terms of costs, we're looking at, there's talk of rising healthcare costs. It's only going to increase. And in the vein of how expensive things are becoming, in order to balance out who has to pay for what, as consumers, we're having to pay more of the bill for our own health. And so not having a healthier lifestyle, or as healthy as we want or could be, is going to cost us in the future.
So you foresee that this will reduce the healthcare insurance premiums?
Basically, what's happening is because costs are they're rising year to year. In order to defer some of those costs, we have sort of these like higher deductible plans. Some people might be having to hit $1,000 or $5,000 before they can start to get coverage.
That doesn't sound like much insurance to me.
No, that's where everything is going. It feels like.
So. I've heard other solutions to the affordable housing matter, having a single payer system, but we're not getting into that today. But are there other consequences of not living in a healthy way?
Well, yeah, that's basically, it's just, we have more medical illness. It just becomes, it becomes harder to concentrate. We have a little bit more cognitive impairment, whereas if we're exercising, for example, our concentration improves, energy levels improve. So there are a lot of things that can shift in a positive way.
So what can we do to help people improve their lives? Is your book the answer to it?
Well, the book is more towards awareness, and hopefully, it's really to motivate people to maybe do even just one of these things, or maybe try to build, more relationships, or trying to exercise more. So, and I'm trying to, show all these different options that people can get into to live healthier.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the Twin Cities, we do a lot, I think, in that direction, more than many cities.
Yes.
But there's a lot of infrastructure here for bicycling and rowing and paddling canoes.
Absolutely.
And sailing and other activities. So is there something more we can do on that?
I believe there is. I mean, the Twin Cities is Minneapolis is one of the healthiest cities in the nation, and that's because we have access. So I think as a whole, we really need to improve access to things, access to activity, parks, and bike lanes and things like that, as well as groceries, places, farmers market, places you can get healthy whole foods. Mm-hmm. And we know that people that are living in areas that they have better access, they do better with their health.
Well, but a lot of people will complain. I don't have the time for all that, going to the farmer's market and exercising, and I've got to take care of the kids.
Yeah.
I've got to get my 8 hours in at work.
Yeah, things are pretty busy, but I wonder if we could turn that question around. What would make doing these things worth our time? How can we motivate ourselves to see this as something valuable? We spend a lot of time on television or the internet, and there are some things we can do, some creative things on how to fit exercise or nutrition into our schedules. There's
maybe we're going to have a stand-up desk and be bicycling on a stationary bicycle at the same time.
It's a good idea. That's what I do when I'm getting really busy.
You do?
Yeah, I my apartment has a stationary bike, and we'll just you do some reading on the iPad or something on top of the shelf for the bike, and that's a way of getting things done better, more efficiently. So just what I mean by creative tools is figuring out, okay, well, if I truly am so busy and crunch for time, how do I come up with solutions to incorporate?
Yeah, so that you can get in shape while you're continuing to read, or even reading your mail or whatever. But are there some people will say, well, I can't afford to live in a healthy way. I don't have the money for a bicycle or something else in my home.
I would say we can't afford not to live healthier. It's becoming more expensive, co-pays and things are higher because in general costs are going up. So we're paying more for our health. And we're paying for it in our concentration, our energy, our motivation.
We can't concentrate on what we're about because we're so involved in multiple things that may not be as important as the other activities that will keep us healthy. Yeah. Well, in some ways, the cost burdens here in the Twin City area seem to be spread around, because we have many places, even the YMCA, YWCA, and other gyms there are some that have special low-cost or for low-income people memberships. Mm-hmm. And just a matter of looking into that if you don't have the money.
Yes.
So, and I think you suggested cooking at home is a key part of it too.
Yes.
Would you elaborate on that?
Yes. So let's say we have a family, and by going to the grocery store, we can really focus on getting healthful foods and we can actually get some cheap food by cooking at home and not having it outsourced by someone else to do for us.
Yeah. So make this more of a family activity, involving healthy eating, healthy grocery shopping.
Yes. Then it's a lot. Actually, when you pair that up, then it's more likely that each person, particularly the person that wanted to make that change, is able to keep up with it longer.
Oh, because they've helped pick out the food.
Yes. And everyone has accountability.
Well, what are some of the other objections? Some people might say, "Oh, I don't have the energy to do that. I'm too old." Or I'm worn out after doing the 2 jobs and taking care of the kids.
I would flip that around and say, how can we get more energy? How can we get more energy and time to do things?
Yeah.
And actually, healthy habits or good well-being is what's necessary actually to get some energy back. Yeah.
Good. Well, some people have said, well, I was successful at keeping my health before, but I am having problems now. I lost it. It's gone forever.
Oh no. Well, I would say, actually, I would point to the fact that one was successful in the past, that it can make it easier to get back into it. Actually, in working with people to motivate them to get exercise and healthier habits, the people I have an easier time with are the ones who had successes in the past. So the key is figuring out, okay, well, for a lot of the time, it's just that, when we're trying to reach a goal, we're going to fall back. That's how it is. That's normal.
If we fall back, we try again.
Exactly.
And not give up.
Exactly. And we can learn how come, why did it fall through? And then we can learn from that in the next time we're going for the goal, such as exercising.
So it's not just trying again, it's trying to improve how you do it so that you don't have a relapse.
Yes.
Well, and many of us have difficulty getting away from comfort foods. They've got, we can read what's in the package, but we want to get there because we like the taste of that. Sugary or, I don't know, corn syrup, particularly I've heard is a problem.
Yes. Well, we've learned that having these kinds of foods is, there's some research going into that. There's an addiction to it, and if you're someone selling food and you can make more money selling this stuff because more people will eat it, so it gains popularity.
Well, maybe part of the solution is not paying attention to the advertising.
Yes, advertising.
Using the mute button on the TV set.
Yes.
And what are some of the other things? Even looking through magazines, you get attracted to some comfort food advertising. And
yeah, I would say that our tastes can actually change, and that's I've really worked and become successful with exercise, but diet for me, personally, has been very challenging. I've had a very unhealthy diet for most of my life, and only recently, by doing some research about this, that I've been able to make some bridges and really now eating a lot healthier. Like on some days, I'm having like 1 or 2 salads a day. But the point of bringing that up is like, I might not have had like a big BMI, but
what's BMI?
Body mass index.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I'm told I have too large a one.
No, a lot of us do.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point I might not have had a high BMI, but I was still very unhealthy, and my weight loss was by cutting down unhealthy food. But now,
cutting down on the unhealthy food.
Yes, but I still ate unhealthy. Now is doing a whole approach, and I will tell you that your taste buds and what your brain finds, what your brain is attracted to can change. Mm-hmm. So when I go into a store, when I see the veggies, it's like, before I would never, that section doesn't matter.
Too much trouble.
Yes, too much trouble. But now it's the place that, it feels good.
Because you learned how to prepare them?
Yes.
At home, cooking at home? And you feel the better for
Yes.
it. You've got tastier vegetables and fruits and
Yes, and anyone can use these
Yeah.
these techniques or other techniques that work for them to bridge into this.
Now, basically, I've tried to think of what are the problems that people have, and some people will just say, well, I've got a lot of problems without even going into detail, but I just can't do these things, even though I know I need to. What does a psychiatrist tell this person?
Well, I would say that work on the low-hanging fruit. Work on the things that are easiest to do. So for example, some people might find that having like a walking sort of experience can, if someone's stressed out, walk it off. I mean,
Walk with somebody else where you can converse as you go.
yes, I mean, that's so powerful. But basically things that are easier for one to do, if it's exercise or if it's changing the diet a little bit healthier or, doing a meditation or something like that, just working on the stuff that you feel is easiest for you to do and go there. And then, maybe looking at therapy or a psychiatrist, medication or therapy or both can really, shift things for people.
Great. Well, I'm beginning to get a more comprehensive picture. You introduced it the last time we were together here on the show, but I'm beginning to understand you're not just trying to help primary care physicians diagnose mental and other illnesses sooner, but also trying to prevent. Your focus now is on prevention.
Yes.
Of,
My day job is
medical and mental problems.
yes.
So, could you sum this up? What's the goal overall?
Yes. The goal is that
Tell our audience here.
So what's happening around the world? We have got rising costs, we've got rising obesity rates and medical conditions, and these go hand in hand together. And then we've got a lot of things that are contributing to that. Now, it doesn't mean we can't change things. We actually can, and there's a lot we can do. And I would really like to encourage people to get better relationships, work on community, diet, exercise, whatever is comfortable and you're able to do. And you can really make a difference in your life and those of others.
So, a much more comprehensive approach.
Yes.
Not just going to the doctor.
Correct.
But we've got some resources in the community. The physical trainers will help us, and there are nutritionists that can help us. There are quite a variety of things that can help us learn more, and videos too. Are there any videos that you recommend?
There are a lot of Netflix documentaries. Now, you just want to make sure that, when you're viewing a documentary or something like that, they generally have like really amazing information. But again, it takes a little bit of research, maybe talking to a nutritionist or a physician or someone else to figure out, what is the good stuff?
Yeah. I hear there's some bad stuff out there that are documentaries that are produced by companies that have a very strong interest in getting you to buy their food. So that's fine. That's part of our system. But we want to buy carefully what is really good for us. Well, Mirza, I think we could talk a lot more, and I look forward to talking with you more as you move along on this book and get it published. So thank you again for coming to Freethinking Forum. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.